Suddenly, the howlers all vanish, and our heroes find themselves magically brought in front of the Krayak, an evil cyborg eye. It mocks them and makes the Animorphs piss their pants, but the Elemist shows up to whisk them away. But not before Jake remorphs Howler. I searched for the memories we had played for the Howler. I looked in the great memory pool for some memories of what had occurred on the Iskort planet. Nothing. Some memory of us, the 5 humans and an Adelaide and a Chi and Guide, but there was nothing. Krayak had destroyed the 6 remaining Howlers before those memories could poison the minds of all Howlers. He'd done what I knew, what I had hoped he'd do. The Howlers had never been defeated, so they believed, but I knew that wasn't possible. Somewhere, somehow, someone had to have beaten them, at least once. Perfection was impossible. So if the collective memory had no trace of defeat, it could only mean that Krayak had destroyed his defeated Howlers before the memory of failure could infect them all. He might have done that many times over the millennia, always keeping the Howlers' collective memory from any taint that might weaken their innocent evil. He had no choice. A collective memory was very useful for spreading battle tactics and experience, but it was a weakness too. Krayak could not allow his murderous children to learn one simple fact, that their victims were not part of a game, but real people with dreams and hopes and loves. Krayak had acted quickly. The memory of humans and Andalites, Chi and Iskort, had not been allowed to infect the Howler memory. Nothing had gotten through. No, not nothing. Sifting through the collective memory, through the unbroken chain of horror, I caught a single fugitive image, like a few seconds of film. Just the picture of Cassie running to me, and our arms and lips, and I demorphed back to human, and when I had my own mouth again, I said, "You were too late, Krayak. Something got through to the Howlers." "What?" he demanded. "Love." "Oh no! I've been defeated by the power of love." So the Elemist takes everyone back to the barn, where the Animorphs demand the Elemist tell them what the hell they had just accomplished. What did you accomplish? No one knows the future, not for certain, but it is now more likely than it was before that 300 years from now the Yeerks will encounter the Iskort. They will realize that they are related, and the Yeerks will see that there is a better way. Wah, wah, wah. Congrats, kids. You have just had the toughest fight in your life, so that long after you're dead and the Earth has been conquered, the Yeerks might come across the Iskort and might see the errors of their ways. I don't know about you, but if that was the prize I was playing for, I'd be pissed. Of course, there's more to this than that. This is the Elemist we're talking about. That's it? Tobias asked. 3 centuries from now? How does that help us? It doesn't, the Elemist said. But within 6 months, Krayak will send a Howler force to annihilate a race called the Sharfden. Instead of slaughtering the Sharfden, the Howlers will try something different. The Elemist winked. They will attempt to kiss them. Krayak will have lost his shock troops. See, here's what I think this is all about. I don't think this is about the Iskorts at all. I think this is all about the Howlers. The Howlers are the most dangerous creations of the Krayak. They are super deadly. Their collective memories are great for battle strategy. They have no mortal compass to hinder them, and they are created en masse. The Elemist can't destroy them by conventional means based on the rules between the game between the Elemist and the Krayak, so he constructed a clever bluff. He pinpointed the Iskort homeworld in some backwaters part of the galaxy and made it seem more important to the Krayak than it actually was. And that's the thing. I personally find the Iskorts to be a rather deplorable race, perhaps even more so than the Yeerks. Okay, so the Iskorts aren't raping and pillaging other civilizations, but they seem to lack a sense of individualism that the Yeerks have. It's not clear whether the Iskorts are assigned their roles at birth or choose them themselves, but seeing as how the Warmaker Guild appears to consist of its own specialized breed of Iskort, I'm willing to put my money on them not having a choice. Guide was probably born into the role of Guide. They are all identified by their careers. They have no real names, and there seems to be no system of growth within their society. The fact that there are Iskorts specifically bred to buy things suggests that the Iskort home that there is no independent economy outside of the dealings with the alien outsiders. Should aliens never come to the Iskrit homeworld, they would simply exist in an endless, meaningless loop, never evolving into anything meaningful. Unless there is more to this race than the book shows us, the Iskrit are semi-mechanical and spiritually dead. To say that these are what the Yeerks should become is kind of cruel. For what little we've seen, Yeerks have already shown more individualism, more creativity, and more passion than any Iskrit. They don't need the Iskrit to show them a different way of life. Many of them are already considering it. We're just a few books away from the introduction of the Yeerk Rebellion. As for building bodies to have a symbiotic relationship with, when you consider the amount of genetic engineering going on in the last book, I'm pretty sure at least a few Yeerks have thought about the possibility. And then there's the fact that the Yeerks never actually get to the Iskrit homeworld. Spoilers, but the Yeerks end up taking a completely different path at the end of the series, and the Iskrits have nothing to do with anything after this book. But that's not what the Ellimist wants the Krayak to think. Oh, the Iskrit are totally awesome, Krayak. Why don't we battle for it? Tell you what, to sweeten the pot, I'll have the Animorphs fight your Howlers. This was probably too good of a deal for the Krayak to pass up. Get rid of this planet the Ellimist seems interested in, and eliminate the biggest threat against the Yeerks' invasion of Earth? Why, the Krayak thinks to himself, worst case scenario is the Animorphs win and I'm out 7 Howlers, and I can easily replace those. Little does he know that this battle was about destroying the Howlers the entire time. That's a far greater victory than saving the Iskrits. Now thousands of races the Krayak may have used the Howlers on to destroy are safe. Much in the same way Eric manipulated the Animorphs into fighting the Howlers for his own gains, so too did the Ellimist. For the 3rd time in a row, the Ellimist has tricked the Animorphs into doing his bidding. But for the first time, the Animorphs won't get a thing out of it. The Ellimist is a fucking bastard. Post-book follow-up. Holy shit, this book. Number 26, The Attack, is on a lot of people's top 5 lists, and it's not hard to see why. It's one of the most dense books in the regular line. The only book you can really compare it to in terms of layers of themes and ideas are the Chronicles books. I've spent many hours discussing the content of this book over the years, and different people take a lot of different things from it. The interpretations I've given throughout these videos is in no way universal. There are so many angles to approach it from. The nature of the Iskrit, the game between the Ellimist and the Krayak, the character development given to Axe and Eric, the kiss, the wild visuals, and some of the most intense and violent action scenes Kay Applegate has ever written. While most Animorph books in the regular line have 1 or maybe 2 core ideas, this one is just overflowing with them. In many ways, this is Kay Applegate's swan song. Yeah, she still wrote 3 more books of the regular line after this, as well as the Chronicles and the Megamorphs, but this book is so deeply and intensely written that you could speculate that she wanted to write the best book possible before stepping down from the series and letting the Ghost writers take over fully. She really pulls out all the stops here and makes the most epic Animorph story possible. I've gone on record that I prefer the smaller adventures that focus solely on the Animorphs' personal struggle against the Yeerks over the larger adventures that send our heroes star-hopping and time-traveling, but this one really works for me. Part of it is because it has very little to do with the Animorphs themselves. Sure, Jake's the narrator and the Animorphs are involved, but the events are so far removed from their goals and history that you could have replaced them with any superhero team and replaced the Ellimist with any omnipotent being in fiction and still end up with mostly the same plot, though the details would be different. No Axe running away and Eric lying to the group. The book shows us that while the Animorphs are central to this series, they are not central to the universal conflict going on. They are only a fraction of the big picture. By putting the Iskrit homeworld so far away from the Earth and Andalite homeworld and all that, it actually shrinks the size of the Yeerk conflict, putting all those planets into one tiny corner of the galaxy. And by making things bigger, it's made things smaller and more compact, and I love it for that. Yeah, this one never gets old, and I'm happy to say it's also in my top 5. I give number 26, The Attack, a 10 out of 10.